let yourself relax physically, mentally, and try to let go of any thoughts that might be bothering us, that might be distracting us. And we can do that by focusing your attention to the breath. Try to keep your attention and awareness to the breath. Observing, being aware, and knowing. The natural process of breathing in and out. Then we can try to reflect and contemplate, how, even though we do not remember how all sentient beings has been our most kind mother, father, friends, and so forth, many times in the past. And how much kind they have been in those times. Feeding us, helping us with our shelter, clothing, protecting us from any harms, trying to help us to stand on our own feet in the best way, according to the best they could. And since they have been so kind, so many times, in so many lifetimes, it will be improper, incorrect now when we have the opportunity not to repay the kindness. And there are so many different ways we can repay the kindness. And the best way to repay the kindness is to help them to lead to not only temporary happiness, but lasting ultimate happiness. And to help them not only to free from temporary problem and suffering, but to be able to help them to free them from all the sufferings and the cause of suffering permanently. And therefore, try to feel the loving kindness and compassion. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings are free from suffering and cause of suffering. May each and every sentient beings be free from all the suffering and cause of suffering. And I myself will free them from suffering and cause of suffering. As much as I can. All the gurus, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, all the enlightened beings, please help, bless me to be able to do that. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings have true ultimate happiness and cause of that ultimate happiness. May all sentient beings have ultimate happiness and cause of ultimate happiness. And may I be able to help and lead them to ultimate happiness and cause of ultimate happiness. Please, all the gurus, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, all the enlightened beings, please help, bless me to be able to do that. And may they not only be free from the suffering and cause of suffering, may not only they have happiness and cause of happiness, may I self alone, if it is needed, by myself alone, be able to free from all the suffering, cause of suffering, and lead and guide them to ultimate happiness and cause of happiness. So try to cultivate a strong courageous determinations of this selfish attitude, special attitude, or universal responsibility But at the moment, with my present situations and state, being very unenlightened, full of obscuration and delusions, I'm unable to free myself from suffering and cause of suffering. I'm not able to lead myself to ultimate happiness, forget about others. Even we have that wishes, we don't have all the wisdom, skillful means, experience to do that. Then who has that? Who can do that? Is there anyone who can do that? Who can liberate all sentient beings from all their suffering, cause of suffering, and lead them to ultimate happiness? Is it possible? It is possible if we can achieve our highest potential, fully awakened state. The state which is free from all the obscurations, the state which has actualized all the positive qualities, knowledge, experiences. In the state which can help and benefit countless sentient beings in each moment, simultaneously, according to the needs of their individuals. Therefore, I must achieve and attain that fully enlightened state, the fully awakened state, as quick as possible, so that I can free all sentient beings, including oneself, from all the suffering and cause of suffering, and lead the ultimate happiness of fully enlightened state. And in order to achieve such a fully enlightened, awakened state, it does not come by just wishing. We need to create the right cause and conditions, cultivate and develop all the realizations, and overcome all the defilement, all the obscurations. And to do that, we need to train our mind through meditation practice correctly, continuously. And to be able to meditate and practice correctly, continuously, we must be inspired, encouraged, and remember them. And for that very reason, that I'm going to listen to all the teachings, so I can be inspired, remind of those practices, so I can continue to practice and work with my mind, transform our mind. And through the transformation of our mind, that we can be more help, benefit to oneself, to others, and eventually leading to fully enlightenment. Okay.
Page 73. We'll do the first verse once. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakti clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. Page 76, the Heart of Perfection of Wisdom Sutra. I prostrate to the Arya Triple Gem. Thus did I hear at one time, the Bhagavan was dwelling on the mass of Vulture's mountain, in the Rajgriha, together with a great community of monks and great community of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagavan was absorbed in the concentration on the categories of phenomena called profound perception. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya Avalokiteshvara looked upon the very practice of the profound perfection of wisdom and beheld those five aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Then, through the power of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya Avalokiteshvara. How should any son of the lineage train who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that, and the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Shariputra. Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activities in the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly beholding those five aggregates, also as empty of the inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness not other than form, form is not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factor, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness, without characteristic, unproduced, unceased, stainless, not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factor, and no consciousness. No eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind. No visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomena. There is no I element, and so on up to and including no mind element, and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, so on up to and including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind without obscuration and without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the end point of nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times are manifestly, completely awakened to unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment, in the reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of perfection of wisdom, the mantra of the great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the unequaled, the mantra that totally pacifies all suffering, should be known as truth, since it is not false. The mantra of perfection of wisdom is declared. Tayata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Soha. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that.
Then the Bhagavan arose from the concentration and commended the Bodhisattva Master, Aya Avalokite Shora, saying, well said, son of the lineage. It is like that. It is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom, just as you have indicated. Even the Tathagatas rejoice. The Bhagavan, having thus spoken, the Venerable Shariputra, the Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya Avalokiteshvara, and those surrounding the entirety, along with the world, gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, were overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bodhisattva.
Page 98, or it might be at the bottom of 97, the short mandala offering.
Sajipeki Choshimeto Tarira Linshi Indegempadi Sangye Shinto Mite Owai Dokun Nam Tashin La Chöpasho Idam Gurana Manta Akan Tayami.
Refuge in bodhicitta, once in English, twice in Tibetan. I go for refuge until I am enlightened, to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye Chodan Soki Chonam La Chanchu Bartu Dani Kapsuchi Dagi Chonem Gepe Sonamgi Drola Pencher Sangye Drupasho Sangye Chodan Soki Chonam La Chanchu Bartu Dani Kapsuchi Dagi Chonem Gepe Sonamgi Drola Pencher Sangye Drupasho.
한제 도전이 손에 떠던 자방 매제 담배 순내 때제배 고담대 라차차. So as we went through the motivations during the motivation meditation, I think that was the subject we spoke about last time, about how to develop awakening the mind of bodhicitta by following this particular meditation on 7 points of cause and effect. And we went through that in a very, very, very short meditation during the motivations. And also we can think of the kindness of all sentient beings, not only in terms of being our most kind mother, fathers, partners, friends, and so in the past in many lifetimes, but even if we talk from one point of life, just one life, even we don't talk from many lifetimes, even in just from this life, all the excellent, everything that we achieve in our life, all the good things that we achieve in the life, every positive thing we are able to achieve or accomplish in our life is come through the kindness of others. Without the kindness of others, we would not have been survived. We wouldn't be here, because there are a lot of people who took care of us when we were very young, whether it's our parent or whether it's some others who help us to kind of grow up, took care of us. So many people involved. And whenever we get sick, we rely on other people's help, the doctors, nurse, the health providers, all of them, so that we can be healthy, so we can sustain, we can, in order to survive, sustain, you know, we depend on, we need income. For that, we have to make living. For that, we depend on others to provide the jobs. And customers who rely or who allow us to give the service, whether we are doing for our someone or whether it's our own business, whatever. Again, we rely on other customers. Without them, we would not be able to make run the business, and we will not be able to make a living from there. And as we get older, again, we rely on many others' kindness, you know. And if we have been successful in whatever field we might be, if there have been any successful that we have been, it's because of others. Without others, you know, we couldn't have those success. Without others' support, contributions, so many people's, directly, indirectly, we wouldn't have able to be successful in whatever field we are, you know, in terms of our ability to be successful in whatever field, the education that we got, the skills that we learn and got, all again coming from others. You know, and even if whatever we know a little bit of how to take care of our mind, meditations, and how to be more calm, how to be more peaceful, and all of that, again, we don't learn by ourselves. We are unable to, we rely on other teachers, the books, the informations that have been provided by others. On whether it is on worldly level or whether it is on spiritual level, whatever progress we have made, all by depending through the support, contribution, and kindness of others. So by recognizing, by reflecting, contemplating, and by recognizing, by understanding that, then we need to develop a sense of attitude that we need to repair the kindness, to give something back to the society that has done so much for us, for the humanity, for the sentient beings that has been so kind to us. We should, you know, we should do something, we should give back something, we should do something for them. Through that, you know, that kind of attitude, then we, the best way to help and the best way to give back, contribute, is help them to, you know, have happiness, all different levels of happiness, and to help them to, you know, overcome their problem, their suffering, and cause of suffering. So cultivating that strong wish and strong aspiration, strong kind of sense of responsibility of wanting to see all sentient beings, you know, having a good health, happy, success, joyful, you know, and then wishing and them to be free from all the problem, all the suffering and cause of sufferings. And so through that, cultivating loving kindness and compassion is important. Even we don't talk from a spiritual, even from a worldly point of view, You know, if someone has been someone even kind to you, you know, it's a natural, wise and best way is to repay the kindness. And definitely when you come from spiritual point of view, then it becomes even more necessary, and to develop that kind of the wish to repay kindness and cultivating loving kindness and compassion, and then trying to act those loving kindness, compassion in our actions through our thoughts, speech, and physical action as much as possible, according to our ability, capacity, as much as possible. And by doing that, you know, not only we are able to repay the kindness, not only we are helping others to be more happy and less suffering and pain, but also that also bring us more joy and happiness and sense of satisfaction, sense of meaning in our life, you know. If we really kind of observe, and if you talk with individuals and also with ourselves, people who contribute for the society, who do for others, they feel their life more meaningful, more purposeful, more satisfactions in their life. People who are more strongly selfish and who only think of themselves and who have not been able to kind of do much to the society, to others, to be contribute, a lot of them feel in certain time in their life, sense of meaningless in their life, sense of empty in their life, sense of, you know, less satisfaction in their life, you know. So it is the best and happiness for others and yourself and everyone's. And so therefore, cultivating loving kindness and compassion, and out of loving kindness and compassion, then cultivating the special attitude, which we are there. I think we have just finished loving kindness, compassion, I think last time. And then from the state of special attitude, then cultivating the awakened mind of bodhicitta. And so yeah.
Meditating on the extraordinary.
132. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, yeah. So I think that was where we had left before. So whether we call it extraordinary attitude or special attitude or universal attitude, different translators have used different translations, but here it is extraordinary attitude. So third, having meditated on love and compassion in this manner, that has we already went through, you know, very systematically, very that Lama Tsongkhapa explained how to meditate on loving kindness and compassion, and through that meditation, how to cultivate loving kindness and compassion with very systematic meditation, you know. Finally, you will think, alas, if those sentient beings who are pleasant and attractive, you know, close, dear to me are those derived of happiness and tormented by suffering, how shall I make them meet with happiness, and how shall I free them from suffering? And so when you started to feel each and every sentient beings very dear, very close to you, then definitely, you know, the thoughts of how can I help them to have happiness? How can I help them to overcome their problems. Suffering will come naturally once you start to feel them very close and dear, and kindness of them and so forth, In taking upon yourself responsibility to liberate them, you train your mind. In taking upon yourself the responsibility to liberate them, you train your mind, at least in mere words. So at the very beginning, even though we cannot feel that very strongly, okay, at the very beginning, because for some people, it could come naturally, easily, because of their previous imprint. His Holiness the Lama says, he has a strong imprint, and a lot of merit from the past, because some of those difficult practices, such as loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta, he found easy once he started to practice. But that will not be the case for everyone. For some people, they find difficult and challenging at the very beginning to have that kind of natural, spontaneous feeling of loving kindness, compassion, and taking the responsibility to free the sentient being suffering and lead them to happiness. And not only it doesn't come easily, naturally, even with effort, even with the practice meditation, sometimes it is hard to come to that state of that strong feeling. So, but we cannot just live, it is difficult. If it's difficult, then we have to practice even more. If it's easy, then maybe then we might not need to practice with so much effort. But if it's difficult, then we need to practice it and give even more effort. And at the very beginning, even we can't have that feeling, at least repeating those words. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and cause of suffering. May all sentient beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May I be able to do that. Even just repeating on words. So first, at the very beginning, you repeat the word on that level. Then slowly, you go beyond that words. Then you started to feel the words with the effort. Then slowly, with the familiarity and practice, then you are able to feel that kind of attitude, even without effortlessly. And so again, that is kind of, so here is Lama Tsongkhapa saying, even it is just a word at the very beginning, repeating the word, we should train that way. And then clearing the doubt in relation with, why we need this extraordinary attitude in order to cultivate the bodhicitta mind. It is not enough to have loving kindness, compassion. And so that, although in fact, this already occurred in the context of repaying their kindness to some extent, when you feel their kindness and then you want to repay their kindness, and the way to repay kindness is to see them free from suffering and wishing them to happiness, cause of. So it does occur there in certain level, even though you don't go so detailed in that. It is shown here that love and compassion, that thing, how wonderful it will be if all sentient beings, they were to meet with happiness and cause of happiness, and how wonderful it will be if they were to free from suffering and cause of suffering, are not significant. Just by having that, it is wonderful when you have that attitude of loving kindness and compassion, wish that. It's wonderful, it's great, but again, that itself is not significant if you want to go further in your practice. If you want to go further in your practice to cultivate the bodhicitta mind and then train in the bodhisattva's path, then you have to go beyond that. So it just by itself is not significant. This is because the need that was taught to generate the loving kindness, compassion capable of inducing the thought, I myself would accomplish the happiness and benefit of. As is taught in the stage of meditation, the first, you should maintain it continuously, remembering it during all your activities after session and so forth, and not just during meditation. And so what you need is, so out of that loving kindness and compassion, where you wish, may all sentient beings, how wonderful, and may all sentient beings free from suffering and cause of suffering and have happiness, and that is loving kindness and compassion. But it is out of that then leading to the next level, taking responsibility on yourself. Not only wishing others to be free from suffering, not only wishing others to be have a happiness, but taking on your responsibility that you will free them from suffering and cause of suffering. You will lead them to happiness and cause happiness. That is another level of courage, higher courage, another level of determinations, higher determinations. And that kind of extraordinary attitude that we need to develop. Not only wishing, if someone is suffering, not only wishing them to be free from suffering, but you are actually engaging to help them to be free from the sufferings, taking the responsibility. And so that comes here, the extraordinary attitudes. And so we should try to maintain continuously the loving kindness, compassion, and the extraordinary attitudes continuously, not only during the meditation sessions, when you are trying to meditate on that, but also when you are out of meditations and when you engage in other activities, while you are trying to prepare the food, trying to keep the loving kindness, the compassion, the extraordinary attitudes alive as much as possible. While you are eating, while you are hiking, walking, while you are in the office, while you are in home, while you are sleeping, or before going to sleeping. And so trying to keep that, maintain that all throughout the day and night, if possible 24 hours, if not, at least when you are awake as much as possible. If we are able to do that, then that kind of loving kindness, compassion, the extraordinary attitude will be developed very quickly. If we try to do that only during the meditation session, and then we try to ignore or we totally neglect during the other activities when we are in not meditation, then it becomes much more difficult. It takes more time to cultivate those attitudes and emotions, And if you want to cultivate and develop them quickly, then we need to bring that practice in our everyday life, in every activities. And that is the problem why we struggled, One, we don't have a discipline in our meditations, And even when we try to meditate, our mind is everywhere, distracted. And we don't have a continuous meditations every day. When we feel like we do, when we don't feel like we give up. You do one day, you don't do one day, and you do next day, or you don't do for a few days, and you do. And there's no continuity, no discipline. And sometimes the meditation, even when you have trying to do, it is a lot of distractions. And then our meditation sessions, we might do once a day, and how much? Half hour. If we do half hour, is great. 1 hour, that's all we do. And then that is, but if you bring that in everyday life, then you are in meditation all the time, not only on cushions, but off the cushions. And when you are in that meditative state all the time, then realization come more easily. And so that is where, and it is same with all the meditation, whatever we are trying to focus on whatever meditation, whatever subject, topic of the meditation that we are focusing on. We try to bring that meditation not only on the cushion, but off the cushion in our all part of life, all activities, if you want to see better result of your meditations. Second, once you realize, urged by the steps explained so far, so once you come to certain realizations by seeing kindness of other sentient beings, and the wish to repair the kindness, and the loving kindness and compassions, and the extraordinary attitudes, urged by those steps explained so far, that enlightenment is necessary. Then you come to necessary for the welfare of others. Then you, as I mentioned during even though you have this strong, very strong, incredibly powerful, beneficial attitude of loving kindness, compassion, and extraordinary attitude. But as long as we are unenlightened, as long as we have so much delusion, obscuration, still how much we can help others, how much we can benefit others, do the welfare of the others will be very limited. Very limited. We can help them in very small ways, but in very limited way. And so if we want to help and be benefit, one, to all sentient beings, not only a couple of sentient beings in our life, to all sentient beings. Not only to all sentient beings, but if we want to be helpful in a most beneficial way, not a temporary help, but a really great help in order to free them from not only temporary problem for a temporary time, but if we want to be able to help them to overcome their problem, all the problem, and permanently, and to all the sufferings, and to wanting to help them to have a true lasting happiness, then we come to conclusions that only if we can achieve fully enlightenment, fully enlightened state, fully awakened state yourself, then you can be able to help that way. Otherwise, our help will be very limited. Otherwise, the benefit, the help that we can do to others will be very limited. And so when you see that, then you inspire to achieve that fully enlightened state, the fully enlightened or fully awakened state, the Buddhahood. The inspiration, the desire, the wishes come very naturally. One, you have great loving kindness, compassion, and special attitude. You want to free them suffering, cause of suffering, and then you see at the moment how limitation that you have in your present state, and then you say, if you can reach this state, then you can help them limitlessly in the most skillful way, in the most effective way towards all sentient beings. Then you will be very inspired to achieve that enlightened state, enlightenment as quick as possible. And so that is the bodhicitta mind when you have that. So, you will also develop a desire to attain it. So you will develop inspirations and the wish to achieve and develop or attain that fully enlightenment. None the least, since that in itself is not sufficient, at the beginning, you should increase your faith through thinking about the excellent qualities of exalted body, exalted speech, exalted mind, and enlightened activities, as they are explained earlier in the context of going to refuge. So in the context of refuge, when we explain about the the qualities of the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, then it has explained, at least, on level that trying to understand, what fully enlightenment means, what Buddha means, what fully awakened means, and especially recognize, understanding the incredible, limitless loving kindness, compassions, the knowledge, the wisdom, and the skillful means or the abilities. So, once you have an enlightenment, because there is no obscurations, then you are able to read each and every sentient being's mind, their predispositions, their karmic state. And so when you understand all of them, then you are able to help whatever is most beneficial according to their karmic state, according to their mental level, according to their predispositions, and so forth. So that is only the fully enlightened, only the fully enlightened had that capacity. And also only the fully enlightened man has the ability to function both deep meditation or meditative equipoise and post meditations, and to help benefit at the same time. And also it is only through the enlightenment, fully enlightenment, you are able to see the both truth, ultimate and unconventional truth, directly, simultaneously by one mind. And so when you have all these incredible realization qualities, then you are able to help so many sentient beings effortlessly, in most skillful means. And so therefore, when you reflect more and more qualities of that enlightened qualities, the more and more you develop stronger inspiration to develop that state. And then since that faith is said to act as the basis for inspiration, you generate the wish to attain those qualities from the bottom of your heart. And that will induce certainty that the achievement of omniscience is indispensable also for your own welfare. So not only the fully enlightenment is necessary to cultivate or to obtain for the welfare of other sentient beings, but also for the greatest welfare of yourself. If you are not fully enlightenment, even you have achieved the arhat, individual liberation, nirvana, not only you are unable to be greatest help, benefit to other sentient beings, limitlessly that way, but also you have not completed and perfected your own well-beings. You still have obscurations, subtle obscurations. So you are not free from all the obscurations. You still hasn't perfected and completed all the positive qualities and knowledge. So you have not completed and perfected your own ability, your own potential, and your own purpose in that way. So therefore, not only to achieve the welfare of, even for welfare of your own and to achieve your own highest for yourself, we need to achieve the fully enlightenment. That is the only way. So that is important. In some of the commentaries, I can't recall it which Indian scriptures, one of the commentaries, it explained that is important in order to our bodhicitta to be stable. In order for our bodhicitta, once we develop it to be stable, that we need to recognize and understand that the fully enlightenment and bodhicitta is necessary not only for the welfare of others, also welfare of yourself. Then it becomes more stable. Because if you feel it's only for others, sometimes, it can be shaky, when you are being challenged, when it's not easy, then you feel, why should I have compassion and love and concern for others when it's too difficult? And it's easy to lose that. But when you know it is not only for the welfare of others, it's also for welfare of yourself. And because we want welfare of ourselves, you know. And so therefore, then you don't easily give up. You know, you are able to retain it even when it's going, when it's difficult, when it's going difficult. And so therefore, is easy to, it is important and necessary to understand and recognize that point and realize that point and reminding of that. And then third, what is the definition, the general definition of the bodhicitta, awakened mind bodhicitta? Is as taught in the materials, ornament for the clear knowledge. The mind generations, the desire for perfectly completely enlightenment for the welfare of others. So it is said, you know, it is the attitude of the mind, the wish or inspiration to achieve fully enlightenment, driven by the loving kindness, compassion for the welfare of all sentient beings. That is the what bodhicitta mind. So if you want to be very precise, you know, then loving kindness, compassion, special attitude, the bodhicitta mind, there are different states of minds, you know. Sometimes when we talk about general, we explain as almost like all of them as same sometimes. But if you want to be very precise, they are all different states of mind, you know. And so then in terms of the divisions, a different kind of bodhicitta mind. First, we can talk about, sometimes you see in a lot of texts, conventional bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta. And within the conventional bodhicitta, then there are two types. And so here, according to Shantideva's engaging bodhisattva behavior, following the Arya Stock Sutra, so teach two, you know, aspiring bodhicitta and engaging bodhicitta mind. And so the difference between those two minds, the wish to go and actually going, the way that is different is understood, and is how the discerning should understand the difference between the two respectfully. So it is saying, you know, for example, sometimes we can have two states. One, we have the let's say the wish to do exercise, okay, or wish to have a better diet, whatever, you know. That is one level. First, you have wish, okay, but then out of that wish, you actually engage in doing exercises, you know, in actually trying to have a better diet and so forth. In same way, so first there's the wish, and that wish leading to the engage in the actions to that to happen. Same way, the aspiring bodhicitta is the wish to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings or for the welfare of all sentient beings. Then engaging bodhicitta, driven by that inspiring bodhicitta mind, then you take the bodhisattva's vows, and then due to that, out of that bodhisattva vow, then now you are actually engaging in the practice, such as 6 perfections, in order to achieve that enlightenment. So now you are actually not driven by that inspiration, now you are actually engaging in the Bodhisattva's practice, such as his perfections, the practice of generosity, moral discipline, patience, and so forth. And so those are the two aspiring and engaging bodhisattva. So that should be understood. The difference between those two bodhisattva. That's what it's saying. Although there appear to be many inconsistent in this respect, according to many different commentaries, you know, the difference between the inspiring bodhisattva, engaging bodhisattva, there seems to be many different explanations. So that is where Lama Tsongkhapa is inconsistent. If you look at different commentaries, there seems to be not all the commentary are consistent, saying, agreeing that is what definition of inspiring bodhisattva and engaging. There seems to be slightly difference in different commentaries in this respect. There is also in the statement of stage of meditation 1 by Kamalashila, that the mind that thinks, may I become a Buddha for welfare of sentient beings, is aspiring, and that after the vows has been taken, engaging that mind is the mind of generation or engaging bodhisattva. So then Lama Tsongkhapa making, you know, Lama Tsongkhapa saying there are many different, in commentary different, but he seems to follow this Kamalashila's state, where you have expiring bodhisattva mind, and once you have expiring bodhisattva, you take the engaging bodhisattva vows, and after you take that bodhisattva vows, then your bodhisattva become engaging bodhisattva. After you take the vows, of course, you engage in. So the next one come to explain is how to train your mind through equalizing, exchanging self of others. So as I mentioned at the very beginning, also here, Lama Tsongkhapa, there are two particular meditation method or technique to cultivate that awakened mind of bodhisattva. One by following particular method of meditation, 7 point of mind train, 7 point of cause and effect, which we just finished through. And then the other method is another meditation method, equalizing, exchanging self with others. That is very extensively detailed explained in the Shantideva's chapter 8. His Holy Dalai Lama was sharing, you know, his personal experience. He said he started doing, you know, Lam-Rim meditations practice since he was 15, 16 years. And even though he said, you know, being very humble, you know, he said, even though sometimes he was playing while he was meditating in those times, you know, distracted and whatever. But he started meditating on Lam-Rim since he was 15, 16s. Then after some time, he was focused more on rigorous studies for his geshes. And then the unfortunate situation happened in 1959, and he had to be exiled. He had to, after the Chinese communists came and overtook the Tibetans, and he had to escape, and he became a refugee. And then after coming back, becoming a refugee in India, then again he started to study, and he said more rigorously on emptiness. He was very interested in emptiness, and very rigorously he continued to study, reflect, contemplate, reading and studying the Indian masters and Lama Tsongkhapa's writings. And so he said around 60s, he felt, you know, through his understanding of the emptiness, he felt liberation is possible. Nirvana is possible. He really felt, he has this experience, feeling once he had better understanding of the emptiness through those rigorous studies, practice, he really felt, nirvana, liberation is possible. Freedom from all delusions is possible. He really felt that. But he felt Bodhicitta is too far away. He said, Bodhicitta seems very nice, great, but it's too difficult. It's too far away. He said at that time, even though he felt, the emptiness, understanding emptiness and nirvana is possible and is within the distant, but he felt Bodhicitta, even though it's such a wonderful, but it's too distant, too far away, difficult. Then he said around, I think somewhere like 69 or 79, I'm not sure, somewhere I think 69. He got some teaching on Shantideva's Gaitsubotsu way of life. Oral transmissions and teachings from Kunu Lama Rinpoche. And after he got those teachings, then he started to really kind of study more of Shantideva's that text. And as he studied more on that, reflecting, contemplating, meditating on that, over the year, then he became more and more familiar with that practice. And then also he felt very close with that practice. Now it doesn't seem distant, and doesn't seem difficult and distant anymore that we felt in the earlies. And then eventually he had, realization of both emptiness and the bodhicitta mind. And because of that, and I think with his actions, you can see very clearly of bodhicitta mind, sudden realizations that we might be able to kind of know a little bit through observing someone's behavior, someone's actions. And it is very clear with his everyday actions, not just one day, 1 week, 1 month, years, over the years, that you can see there's no doubt he has incredible loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta mind is clear. And he also mentions, that since he has some understanding and realization of emptiness, hardly any delusion arises. And if they do arise, it's like a spark. It does not last. It goes just like that. You feel it and it's gone, Not like us where we hold for days, weeks, months, year, and maybe sometime lifetime, sometime many lifetime. Here probably some of us are carrying for many lifetime. We are not sure why you are feeling that way, You try to relate with, in this life, there is nothing that can see you why you feel so negative or bitterness or uncomfortable or something with someone. But there is, and I think maybe it is carrying from the past, still carrying from the past, And so we can carry many lifetimes. And so that, is why because I was explaining exchanging and equalizing self with others. And so the most detail, if you want to study more details, more extensively, then you should study the Gaitsubotsu chapter 8 on meditation, and especially the later part, I think maybe first 130 something verses, It's kind of like preparation, letting go of attachment and many other things. But then the later part of that then is very details. And even Lama Tsongkhapa and all the Lam-Rim always go back to that resource, and quote from there, So that is the second, the training based on text by Shantideva here. So, and the text, the particular text here is saying of the guide to both of a way of life. So that is the text. And chapter 8, and not the whole chapter 8, but later part of the chapter 8. And this 3 point, thinking about the advantage of exchanging and disadvantage of not exchanging oneself with others. And what that means will come later, okay, explanations of that. Demonstrating that you can generate this mind if you familiarize yourself with it. So again, it will come later, even though it seems very difficult at this point for us to exchange, when it's exchanging self with others, it's exchanging the attitude. It will come later, changing the way we have attitude towards ourselves to have that towards others at the moment. The way we have attitude towards others to have towards us, that kind of thing. And it seems difficult at the moment, not to have selfish attitude, self-centeredness, self-cherishing, and to have a strong cherishing thought for others all the time. It seems difficult. But again, as Lama Tsongkhapa said, it will come if you continue to practice. If you train your mind with the time, with the familiarity, it is possible. It is possible. And even as I said, His Holiness, his own personal experience, he showed, as he said, at the very beginning, he felt it's very far away, difficult. But as he started to study, reflect, contemplate over the year, now, eventually he felt they are not too far away. It's very close, possible. And not only that, then he was able to cultivate, develop that. So that is the way. And the stage of meditation, how to exchange oneself with others, then the actual stages of practice meditations. So first, in the Shandeva's engaging both of behavior or way of life, it says, whoever wishes to protect himself or others repeatedly should practice the secret instructions, which consist in exchanging oneself and others. So he said, if you want to protect yourself from the suffering, and if you want to protect others from the sufferings, and if you want to see yourself having happiness, true happiness, and if you want to see others having a true happiness, then it is important and necessary to practice this exchanging self with others by exchanging that kind of attitude. And it is said, this practice secret instructions is because such practice, is not easy for everyone, It's not easy for everyone. And therefore, that is why it's kind of a secret in a way, that it's not a cake for everyone, piece of cake for everyone. For some, it might be difficult. And especially as it will come, the practice of Tonglen as well. Some people might find easy, and some people might find very difficult. But of course, even those who find difficult with the practice, they can get easier. But at the very beginning, it can be like that. And so that is sometimes His Holiness says, and also in some commentary they say, among these two kind of method, this particular method of exchanging self with others and the practice of Tonglen, is more for the practice for the bodhisattvas who have more sharp faculties. And those with bodhisattvas or those sentient beings who have less sharp faculties, and those who have less support of merit and virtues, maybe they might struggle a little bit at the very beginning. So then, why we need to exchange it? Why do we need to exchange these two? Why should we give up the selfish attitude? And why should we develop the cherishing thought for others? Not because Buddha said you should give up. Not because Shantideva said you should give up. But because of our experience, how that's by recognizing how selfish attitude is the source of all our suffering, and how cherishing thought for others is the source of all happiness. By that understanding, not just from scriptural Shantideva, and here Lama Tsongkhapa explained that, but then once you learn from the scripture, then you analyze with your own experience, is that the true? Is that the true or not? And by applying with your own experience, and then if you find that is true, then you should give up, because we don't want suffering. And it's cause of suffering, you should give up. It is cause of suffering for yourself and others. On other end, cherishing toward others, if you find it is a really cause of your happiness and others' happiness, then that is something we should develop, because we all want happiness for ourselves and others. And so therefore, it's important to learn from the scriptures and then apply with our experience and reflect, contemplate, observe with our own emotions, in our own feelings, our own experiences. And through that, then understanding with your own practice, your own implications, and with your own observations, your own experiment. Once you come to understanding with that, then it will be unshakable. Unshakable. Otherwise, just understanding from a scriptural point of view can be shaky. One day you feel it's right, and next day you feel, oh, maybe it's incorrect. Or one day you feel it's possible, the next day you feel it's impossible. And so your mind, but once you have that understanding with your own experiment, with your that, then it becomes, and so that is important. So therefore, the advantage of cherishing thought for others, all happiness that exists in the world, arise from the wanting happiness for others. And all the suffering that exists in the world arise from wanting one's own happiness with that selfish attitude. And we can understand that on many different levels, I think, it is clear when we have problems and conflict with others, and the pain, the suffering that we go through because of the conflict and difficulties with others, whether in a personal relationship or non-personal relationship, whatever kind with our interaction with others. On surface level, there might be different cause and conditions, or we believe the cause and condition for the problem and for the pain and suffering that comes with that problems. You know, it might be thinking their behavior, their actions. It can be, thinking of certain because of that particular situations, whether it's induced by someone, individuals, or a natural, whatever, we blame that. But if you go deeper than that, the reason why we are unhappy, the reason why we have a pain in our heart, the reason why we had conflict is our selfish attitude because of our egoistic mind. It all comes to our egoistic mind. It all comes to egoistic mind. And all these others are our egoistic mind playing game on us and giving excuse, you know, and blaming all this is the trick. Our selfish attitude, egoistic mind playing on us. And then we believe and never kind of see it is the egoistic mind, the selfish attitude. We always, because this one trick us, distract us from seeing this as a problem, always pointing somewhere else. But if we really, really deeply, honestly, deeply analyze and look, you know, it is always the selfish attitude, the egoistic mind. My ego is hurt. My ego wants things in a certain way. And that has not been fulfilled. If it is not coming from egoistic mind, if it is coming from true compassion point of view, you will not feel that pain. You know, even with the same situation, even with the same person behavior, you know, that same person's behavior, that same person's same kind of attitude, actions, or situations, definitely you might feel a little bit of discomfort in some cases, physical discomfort, you know, maybe a little bit of uncomfortableness, but that will not lead you to kind of bitterness. That will not lead you to feel the pain that we comes at the way it pain us at the moment. But when we have, it is coming from egoistic point of view, then it becomes much more painful, much more harder, much more difficult. When it comes from love, from the space of loving kindness, compassion, even someone's, unkind, harmful behavior, you might not agree with it. You might not feel comfortable with it. You might even, maybe it needs to take it. You will take actions, but you will not have bitterness. You will not have the pain that it hurts so much here, you know. And you will not hold on that whatever resentful, anger, hatred, whatever that, you will not hold it. But when you have that, then that is what happens, you know. But the problem, I think, you know, when we are kind of discussing like that, it feels true, isn't it? But that doesn't feel true when we are in the situations. When you are in a situation, if someone says you that, you will be upset with the person who says that. You know, you will be so upset. You are blaming me. You are supporting the others. And, you know, and so there is disparity, like gap, what do you call this, discrepancies. There is a discrepancy between our intellectual understanding and our feelings because of not enough practice meditations. Intellectually, we understand that. Experientially, we have totally different way of responding it. And because it is still on intellectual level and not on experiential level. So the suffering that you know, and if we talk in the everything, you know, we become a bitterness about our life. Sometimes we become very frustrated and bitterness about our physical health. We become very frustrated and bitterness about our job and our life and all different things in our life. Again, if you think it is the bodhicitta mind, it is because of selfish attitude. Because I'm so concerned with my good health, you know, my mind is so narrow and focused on that. All I see is this, my, you know, my unpleasant health, my difficult situation with relationship with the job and all others, whatever that. On the other hand, if we are true compassion, your mind will be not focused on your own problems, your own difficulties, because you feel you are the not only one. So many people, so all sentient beings basically are suffering in some way. Some of them much more worse. You feel compassion for them. And because of your compassion for them, you don't feel your own suffering so much. You know, you don't feel so much pain about your own situations. So you don't feel so much frustrations, bitterness, and miserable about your own life. But when we are so selfish, self-centered, all we think is me, my. You can't see others' problems. You can't feel compassion for others. And then you are too occupied with your own situations. And then the suffering pain is much more on emotional, mental pain and suffering is much more, you know. And so those, again, as I said, you know, those are our experience. Those are our experience. Those are our experience. On the other hand, you know, the cherishing thought for others, loving kindness, compassion, is source of happiness. When you have that kind of loving kindness, compassion, your mind becomes much more open, much more broader, and much more less narrow, and much more peace and relaxations. That happens immediately. We are not talking about enlightenment, future lives, and so forth. Even with that, your mind started to become much more happier. And definitely that lead you to higher happiness. If we live our life more loving kindness, compassion, definitely you will have a higher rebirth and happiness in the future. As I always says, and I personally believe from, again, not just making up myself, from many of the scriptures and writings and all of that, come to certain conclusions, whether you believe in future life or not, if you have lived more loving kindness, compassion in life, you will, if there is a future life, you will have better future life. But even if you believe in future life, if you live a very harmful and unkind and, it doesn't matter whether you believe or not, but the chances of a higher rebirth and happiness in the future is less. It's not based on what you believe in, it's based on what you create the cause and conditions, So loving kindness, compassion, the happiness of, and then, loving kindness, compassion lead to the bodhicitta, and different level of happiness on the both sides of a path as you increase from starting from one path to another path, from one bhumi to another path, your level of compassion, your level of happiness increases, and then ultimate happiness of fully enlightenment. So all this happiness come through the cherishing thought for others. So we'll stop here.